Vince Russo says AEW and WWE are in bed together. Brock Lesnar supposedly cashing in his money in the bank on Monday night. And someone from NXT using the wild card rule. It's coming up next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out. Now, Ralph, earlier this week, Vince Russo went on his podcast and said that AEW and WWE are in bed together. And if you don't believe this, you're basically an idiot.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the comments made by Vince Russo?
Well, I definitely don't think that AEW and WWE are any way for or form in cahoots with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look to the way that AEW was created, the financial backing of it, the fact that, you know, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, all those guys got together and really essentially created this company because they wanted to be different than WWE. I don't see it. You know, it wouldn't make any sense for them, especially when you consider the type of wrestling, the type of shows. If you're WWE and you're financially backing them or working with them in any way, shape, or form, how do you benefit from that other than creating competition?
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Now, I understand when Vince Russo was relevant in the wrestling industry, WWE did something similar with ECW.
Right.
Here's the difference. Paul Heyman was running ECW from his mother's basement. The AEW is being run by billionaires, financially backed by billionaires that own professional sports teams all over the world and all different ventures all over the world. And, you know, there's no actual need for them to do any talent sharing. You know, we talk about, let's bring up the fact that Double or Nothing had almost 100,000 pay-per-view buys over the weekend. So I don't see the reason why they would be in bed together. There's no reason to do it. AEW gets no benefit for it. WWE, the only benefit they get is actually might get a ratings boost for once.
Right.
And people might actually talk positive about it. But to actually say that they're in bed together, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, I mean, if anybody out there actually believes this, let us know in the comments below why you think AEW and WWE are in bed together and actually this whole thing is a work. Some people might actually think this, though, because of what Sami Zayn said on the new segment of WWE called the Electric Chair with Corey Graves.
Horrible
segment.
Terrible.
Absolutely horrible segment. But I guess I don't know if these were plants in the crowd or they actually did a great job in picking 4 people to ask 4 bad questions. But Sami Zayn was ripping into the crowd saying, you guys got to do better than this. Including the last question, which was, why haven't you won the Universal Championship yet since you come back? How long's he been back?
Right.
2 months?
If these were if these fans were planted, my God, they could have done a better job of creating questions for these people to ask. Because this whole segment from beginning to end was an absolute train wreck. This was terrible. Yeah. God awful. And then to think that somehow just because Sami Zayn maybe went off script, I don't know, people have been saying that all week that he went off script and he wasn't supposed to say it. That you know, somehow that suggests that WWE and AEW are in bed together or in cahoots. I don't think you can necessarily draw that conclusion from this one segment. And, you know, it wouldn't make sense to me for either of these companies.
No, I agree as well. But I mean, there was a report going around. I forget, I think it was Meltzer that said that Vince actually had that in the script, but it was supposed to be said later on. But Sami Zayn said it then, and it was just wrongly timed. So he got an earful from Vince afterwards. It was it was supposed to be in there, but just not at that point. It's a weird situation there. And I guess, you know, we're trying to make the 3rd hour of Raw edgier and whatnot, but you actually have to make the 2 hours worth watching to get to the 3rd hour. And they didn't do a good job at that. And it all started with Brock Lesnar. This whole thing about him announcing when he's going to cash in his Money in the Bank contract. Is he going to cash in on Kofi? Is he going to cash in on Seth? He ends up not cashing in on anybody. and it reveals, oh, wait, I have a year to cash this in.
Yep.
Why am I announcing it now? So he walks out, and then, now, thanks to social media, Stephanie McMahon goes on Twitter, releases a video saying that the executive team and the McMahons are going to have a meeting about this and I guess reprimand
Yeah, Brock and
Brock
Paul Heyman.
Lesnar for what he did last week and disrespecting the Money in the Bank. And then Paul Heyman rebuttals by saying, "Oh, he is cashing in on Monday,
Yep.
and it is going to be on Seth Rollins, the Universal Champion." What the heck happened to the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Well, for starters, they turned it into a boombox.
Yeah, right.
And what is an absolute terrible way to promote your biggest badass on your whole roster. You have him dancing around the ring with a fake boombox, and you have him in a T-shirt that says Brock Party.
Mhm.
In order to repackage him. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's all just very, very bland. Like, one of two things is going to happen. Brock's actually going to show up at Raw and cash in my opinion. He'll either do that or he's going to go to Raw and they're going to strip him of the Money in the Bank contract and give it to somebody else. And maybe Brock goes away for a little bit and ends up coming back. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm interested to see how they kind of book their way out of this, or what kind of story they try to tell to get themselves out of this whole little pickle or situation they got in. Because I think if Brock wins, I think fans are really going to get to the point where they really just stop watching, because they know that Brock's not going to sign a contract where he's going to be there week in and week out. It's
Mhm.
just not going to happen. So if he wins and he's a part-time champion again, I mean, if ever there's a time where the fans will stop watching altogether or find an alternative like AEW or somebody else, that's probably going to be the thing that drives them to do it.
Right. I totally agree. This is I don't know how they do this. They always find a way to book themselves into a corner and find the worst way to book themselves out of that said corner. They've done this with Braun Strowman. They've done this last year with the Money in the Bank briefcase. They did it with Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax last year at Money in the Bank. They just find these ways to just, oh crap, we're in a corner. How do we get ourselves out of it?
Yeah,
and then they can't do it creatively. You have 37 writers.
What's mind-boggling to me is, why did Brock need to win Money in the Bank? Why couldn't he just get his... I know, oh, well, we don't have rematch clauses anymore, but let's assume there's somebody in the authority that's backing Brock Lesnar, and that's somehow how he got into the Money in the Bank match. Because one would assume that had to have happened. He can't just insert himself in a match. He doesn't have that type of authority or power. At least you wouldn't think so, right?
Yep.
So why couldn't Seth and Brock just have had their rematch and had one of the younger guys like a Ricochet or Ali, whoever, Andrade, have one of them carry the briefcase? Why did we have to have Brock Lesnar win the briefcase? And now if he cashes in and loses, it's a wasted opportunity to promote a new guy, a up and coming young guy. And if he wins and wins the title, we're back at square one where we were like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And
It's a lose-lose.
The other thing too is, if he actually cashes in and loses, it would be the third straight year the Money in the Bank briefcase has failed on its cash in. And we talked about this last year when Braun Strowman lost his cash in.
Right.
And we had a topic where we discussed, is the Money in the briefcase ruined? And I said, whoever wins this year has to win, or else it is 100% ruined. You cannot salvage the Money in the Bank briefcase. Especially now that Brock Lesnar is the briefcase holder.
Right.
If he loses, who else is a credible source to win the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Sure. Right.
So to me, it's like you have to have him win. But do you actually have him cash in on Seth Rollins, or is it a swerve to cash in on Kofi Kingston? Or is it where he doesn't cash in again? And you know what? He has a year. Let him. I would say have him go 364 days and cash in on the last day of the contract. That's never been done before. Let that happen. At least it's something different.
Didn't Seth do it at WrestleMania?
That wasn't the last day of the contract.
Okay.
But I mean, I think he was the longest to hold it. Either him or Edge. One of those. I think those two are the longest to hold it. But going back to this, the other thing that could happen is, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but Matt Riddle said that he's going to show up on Monday
Yeah.
because he wants to ruin the cash in. And we all know the wild card rule says that you can, it's supposed to be 4 guys from Raw, 4 guys from SmackDown. And we all know that doesn't necessarily happen. The rules aren't really laid out and enforced properly. So could we see an NXT guy use the wild card rule?
Yeah.
And Matt Riddle stir things up here.
As much as I'd like to see that, because Matt Riddle has been really vocal on social media about Brock Lesnar, specifically saying he's going to retire him, and all this has been going on for months, if not maybe a year. So, can this happen? Yeah, I guess it potentially could. I don't think it will happen. I think this is just kind of Matt Riddle trying to get some attention on social media, which is smart for him to try and, bring some attraction to himself and try to brand himself, get some more followers, whatever you want to call it. But it'd be interesting. The thing that I think we've seen happen a couple of times now with the NXT call-ups is you get your diehard WWE fans or your hardcore wrestling fans who know who a good majority of the NXT wrestlers are, but the casual fans and the younger fans don't know who a lot of them are.
Right.
So if he were to insert himself or come out and whatever, would it fall flat? It might. I would also be interested. I'd have to look it up. I don't know where Monday Night Raw is going to be. If it's somewhere in like New York where you do have some more smarter fans, or Philadelphia or Chicago, I don't know. But if he were to come out, I'd imagine a good majority of the fans are going to know who he is, and he'd get a good reaction.
Yeah.
But if it's somewhere where it's not known for its fans to be as invested in the product, it might fall flat.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that when we got Ciampa, Gargano, Aleister Black, and Ricochet.
Yeah.
Their reaction, it was because they were in Lafayette, Louisiana. And that was notably a very bad audience that night. And
Right.
a lot of people were crapping on that audience that whole show. I'd have to double check where they are. They got to be close to the East because they're heading to Saudi Arabia this upcoming weekend. So I would think, I want to say they're in somewhere in New York State. I know they were in Albany last Monday, or they were in Albany after Money in the Bank. I'd have to look. Or you're looking it up right now?
I'm looking it up now.
So, and then of course we know that Goldberg is going to be on SmackDown Live.
Yep.
So great use of those 56 guys that haven't been on TV in the last 2 weeks that we're probably going to make it 3 weeks in a row because we got to make time for Goldberg in a match that's going to be 5 minutes at Super Showdown. They're in
Monday
Austin.
Night Raw is in Austin, Texas. So we
Austin,
were way
Texas.
off. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine. I don't know.
Austin-
I don't think we see Matt Riddle on Monday night.
No, I'd love to see it just because it'd be different. It get people talking. But again, this is probably what happened. If Matt Riddle shows up, he interrupts Brock Lesnar to end his cash in. It would be 1 week, and then they'll find some way to mess up creatively, and you won't see Matt Riddle for 2 weeks. Then he'll magically show up again, and then he'll disappear for 3 weeks. Just status quo.
Most things don't make sense,
Right.
on weekly television for WWE. So
Right. So let us know what you think about Vince Russo and his comments with AEW and WWE being in bed together. Let us know what you think about Brock Lesnar and his supposed cash in on Raw. And if you think Matt Riddle should show up on Raw to break up the cash in. All that in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, share it all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. Subscribe and hit that bell for notifications as we're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling All Out. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti, and thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.